This is the Professional Stepdad, a place where we share stories, strategies, and ideas for men just like you to help answer that one important question: how can I be a better stepdad? What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Professional Stepdad Podcast, episode 17. Been kind of going heavy on social media, trying to promote this show and trying to connect with more stepdads and step parents around the globe to bring a little bit more awareness towards, the subject matters and the things that I talk about. Something really, really cool happened, and I wanted to come on here immediately and tell you guys about it. So, as stepdads, we always find ourselves in situations where it's uncomfortable, or we feel like everybody's judging us, or we're walking on eggshells. All those adjective phrases that really define our first few years in our journey. So I posted this video about what it means to own the word step, right? Like, I did this podcast already. I did this show about what it means to own the word step and how step can't be defined in your life as a negative label. It's got to be a positive label. You have to not only embrace it, but you have to use it as power and as focus for your evolving growth within your family. So post this video. It's getting great traction. A lot of connecting with step parents everywhere, right? Because a lot of step moms were jumping in saying, this is not just stepdad's problem. This is also a stepmom's problem, which I am completely and totally aware of that. But then this bio dad stepped in, and the bio dad said to me, he goes, owning the word step is great, and having a stepdad, or owning the word stepdad is great, but unless he's interfering with you wanting to be a dad. So then it got me thinking, like, me, you, and I'm sure a lot of other stepdads I viewed the bio dad in a lot of your situations as like the evil guy for some reason. And I completely forgot about the bio dads that just simply weren't supposed to be with the bio mom, and they went off on their own, and they're amazing, amazing men. And they are raising their children, and they're doing their best. So then I started thinking about the reverse of what our job is as a stepdad, and about how we have these insecurities that are centered around, like, our connection with our stepson or our stepdaughter, and how they look more like their bio dad, or their mannerisms or what they do is like their bio dad. And it brings a sense of jealousy, and it brings a sense of resentment on us because we feel like we're stepping up and we're putting ourselves in a position to help raise this family. And for some reason, we hold a little bit of I guess we have animosity towards the child for something he did or did not do, or she did or did not do. So that's a really great perspective about being a stepdad, right? There are going to be situations where the bio dad is amazing, and the joint custody and the sharing of the children from house to house is going to work. And your job as a stepdad is 100% to be a leader, to be someone that creates new habits and routines within your family. Your job is to implement successful strategies for not only you and your wife or you and your partner, but also for you and your children. But you have to also remember that the communication needs to be there with the bio dad. So then, which brings me to this gentleman's post, or this comment, which was that the stepdad was interfering with his ability to be a dad. And that is a 100% communication problem. It's not only our job as men to sit down with our partners and develop a sense of communication with them so that we can move forward within our family as a collective group. So we're on the same page. There is no good guy, bad guy. Everything is handled equally. But at the same time, I feel where this dad is coming from, right? Like, I really do. Because especially if you're a stepdad that spends more time with the children than the bio dad. Maybe the bio dad has one of those jobs. Maybe he's an essential worker. Maybe he can't see the kids as much as he wants to, but maybe he's a great guy. But if you haven't taken the time to reach out to him, to sit him down and to communicate with him about how and what the best way is to raise the children, then you're wrong. You're wrong. And I know there are going to be dads out there that are mean and vindictive and don't want to see you in the picture. Think about it like this. If you have a daughter, stepdaughter or bio, doesn't matter. If you have a daughter, when she turns 16 or when she starts liking boys, for me, my oldest daughter, Brindley, when she was 16, she went on her first date. And I remember the feelings that I had about another male being in charge, basically, of my daughter's well-being, even if it was for a couple hours. I mean, it's just a date, right? It's harmless. But for me, because of the way I was raised and what I know, I mean, I had this like a really bad feeling, not like he was going to do something stupid, but the fact that I didn't want to relinquish power, meaning I didn't want to hand my little girl over yet. And I feel that bio dad. I feel I feel his pain. That's how he feels. He feels like that when it comes to his children. It's not his fault either that they split up. It's not the children's fault that they split up. Sometimes it just doesn't work, guys. Sometimes you can put in all the work. You can do all the studies, all the classes, all the seminars for your relationship. And then you just realize, hey, it doesn't work. I've been married before. I was married when I was in the Army, and I was married to this amazing girl. Her name's Sarah. And we got married way too young, and we should have never been married because we were not ready to be in a committed relationship at that age, traveling all the time and going to like places like Korea and Afghanistan and Iraq. But when we split up, it was like one of those talks that we had. We sat down and we talked about it. I'm like, what are we doing? Like, why are we continuing this relationship knowing that it's not going to go much further? And when we split up, it was very human, very like, I care for you, you care for me, but let's open up the doors for other people to come into our lives so we can be happy. And I feel you, bio dad. I do. I really feel you. Again, huge wake-up call for me because, I mean, even we're on episode 17, 16, and I've had this thought about how bio dad is evil and he's the mean guy, but he's not, man. I mean, it shows you how much I'm still learning about this process. And I love being able to share with you my awareness of the aha moment when it got me. And I'm so thankful for this dad that said that, because there are going to be times as you as a stepdad where if you're not communicating properly with the bio dad and he's a good guy, then there's going to be friction. And you may think that he hates you, or you may think that he's evil, or he wants to, come up against you, but that's just not the truth. But I'm willing to bet that there are a lot of situations out there and a lot of stories out there where you're making it up in your head and you think that it's going to be like this. I'm just curious. I'm curious to know, stepdads, I'm curious to know your relationship with the bio dad. Is it good? Is it bad? If it is good, how did you get it that way? If you guys have one of those relationships where like the bio dad and his new girlfriend and or wife can come over for like Thanksgiving dinner and everybody kind of gets along, how did you do it? Because there are plenty of stepdads out there and plenty of dads out there that need to hear how you did it, because it might not be working for them. So I empower you. I'm asking, if you are in that situation where it's working, make a video, send it to me so I can post it, because I'd like to share that information. So I just thought that was a really cool, like, aha moment. It was a really cool, eye-opening experience for me, because it helped broaden my horizon when it comes to this subject matter of being a stepdad. I obviously do not have all the answers. You guys, I'm still learning as I'm going. The only difference is that I'm sharing it with you. I'm sharing the process. I'm sharing what's worked. I'm sharing my aha moments, because it is our responsibility to not only change the narrative, but it's our responsibility to lay the groundwork for the stepdads that are going to come after us. I'm so sick and tired of when people use the word step. I'm so sick and tired of it being some sort of like having so much negative value, or like the way it makes you feel. You know, I'm taking myself back right now to where when people used to refer to me as stepdad, like in year 3 or 4, man, I used to get so pissed off about it. I hated that word step. I wanted so desperately to be dad. And it just wasn't in the cards for me. And so I was going to fight against that word step. I didn't want it. Then I tried on that word bonus for a little bit. Didn't feel right. But now that I own that word, now that I own the word step, it's an empowering feeling. Like it's a great reminder to like what I'm doing here and why I'm doing this show and this podcast. So I really wanted to share that information with you. Just remember that there is a flip side to these coins that we're playing. This game that we're playing, there's another side to this. There are bio dads out there that are great and that want communication and want the best for their children. And maybe you're not opening up the proper way, or maybe you're putting up the walls where you need to bring them down so that the children can have an amazing life. Gentlemen, again, this is not about you or your feelings. It's just not. It's your responsibility to take care of you on your personal time. It's your responsibility to grow and to strengthen your mind so that when put in situations, you can handle it effectively and not in a negative way. It's your responsibility to do that. But when it comes to the bigger picture of your purpose, it's about the kids, man. It's about the kids. What's best for them? Being on the same page as the bio dad is what's best for them. If you can't get on the same page as the bio dad, your job is to not badmouth him and to talk shit about him, because you don't want to be that person. That's not you. Your job is to bring light and positivity and growth within your family in a way so that when your children leave and go to college or whatever they're going to do, that they feel prepared and you feel satisfied. Because when they're gone, guys, remember, stepdads, when they're gone, now you're with your partner. Have you been doing the work to make sure that when everybody's gone, you guys can thrive? And if not, you're wrong. You're wrong. So the last thing I want to touch on today before I go is that today is my cousin's 29th birthday, and she's had such an interesting story. Like her dad, my uncle, him and his wife didn't work, and Regan is her name. She's had a stepdad, his name is Steve, and another step figure, his name is David. So she's had the bio dad, a stepdad, and then like a step figure, if that makes sense, in her life. And she sent me this message this morning about this video that I posted on my social media about what it means to own that word step and to stop using it in a negative way. And she thanked me because she remembers how it feels as a kid having to choose between her feelings towards dad, towards stepdad, and towards the step figure in her life. She knows that feeling. Like she felt like she was being pulled in so many different ways. Like she needed to please everybody. And then again, I sat back and I thought about it. I'm like, man, we haven't even thought about like the older children in our situations, like their view, like their emotions are being pulled so many ways. It's crazy. Their emotions are being pulled this way and that way. You need to choose, you need to pick, you need to love, you need to hate, you need to judge, you need to inspire. Like they're being pulled so many. Oh, and by the way, they're trying to figure out who they are. If you as a stepdad are just feeding the negativity within your situation towards the bio dad or towards the stepmom or whatever the situation is, if you're feeding negativity and you're not doing everything you can to take that, to kind of shelter them so that negativity bounces off them, so all they have to do is worry about learning how to become a productive adult so they can live their life. If you're doing that, awesome. If you're not doing that, and if you're feeding into the negativity and it's your fault, then it's your fault. It really is, because you're the damn leader. Period. And if the relationship with the bio dad's there, then you're both the leaders. Split it. But stop making this shit about you, guys. So I feel you, Regan, and I understand a lot of young adults and teenagers out there that are going through these splits and these breakups where they feel like they've got to choose and be pulled different ways. And as stepdad, we are doing everything that we can to try to get the attention of them, saying, look, I'm here, pay attention to me. I'm the one that stepped up. But reality is our job is just to listen. Our job is to listen to their problems, their wins, their losses, to be there, to hug them, to hold them, to let them go when we need to let them figure out life, to let them fail, to let them succeed, and then praise their successes and talk through their failures. But our job is to make sure that we're mentally strong so that when the negative stuff does come our way, that we're able to handle it in such a way that our children can see how we're handling it and going, man, he could have easily bad talked my mom there, or could he easily bad talked my dad, and he didn't. He chose to find the positive out of it and then share it with me. Trust me, guys, your teenage kids and your young adults aren't going to say this to you out loud, but they're thinking it. I know, because my stepdaughter and I had a long talk about it. So just remember, your actions and your words have a lot of effect. What you say has a lot of effect. What you do has a lot of effect. Also, what you don't do has a lot of effect. Make sure the communication is there with the bio dad. Make sure the communication and the relationships are there and strong so that your children can learn in a positive way and they can share about their experience. The only way we change the narrative for the future is in the moment right now, we change how we handle those negative moments. So when our children get to a certain age and people bring up the word step or bonus or whatever it might be, they don't bring it up in a negative light. Like, they don't only have bad stories to tell. They have amazing stories to tell. Look, check this out. My children are going to have amazing stories to tell. When one of their friends become a step parent or something happens in their life and somebody's going, does anybody have any experience with, being step parents? The story that they tell about me and about me stepping in our situation is going to be one of positivity and one of growth and one of he was that guy that stepped up. It doesn't have to be negative. It doesn't. But yet the narrative says that there's a negative label on it. It doesn't need to be like that. But the only way that changes is when we take ownership of step and we use it as power. That's it. That's the only way it starts to change. And then it takes time, patience, and persistence. Okay, guys, this is episode 17 of the Professional Stepdad Podcast. Thank you very much for joining me. See you tomorrow. Q&A.
Quiet on the set, please. Thank you, everybody.